Hey guys, Aaron here. Welcome back for another Body Club workout. Today we'll be doing a full body, bodyweight strength and mobility class. This is a great session if you're limited with equipment and still want a full body workout. It's also great for anyone looking to improve their mobility and anyone looking to learn some new exercises that they can do at home or in the gym. Some of these exercises are quite technical, so may require a little bit of practice. Don't worry if you struggle first time, be patient, it's all about the practice. I'll try and provide some modifications as well as we go through. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to come down to the mat and we're just going to start off working the spine through a little bit of flexion and extension. So we're going to set ourselves onto the mat with the knees, we're going to point the toes and sit the backside down to the heels. We're going to reach out those arms and spread the fingers along the mat. And we're just going to sink down through the head. From here, I'm going to push down through my knees and my hands, up into a forward flexed position. I'm going to rock that shape forwards, tucking my tailbone under. So lengthening the tailbone under, pushing the hips down towards the floor, dropping the shoulders down away from the ears, lifting the chest and lengthening the crown of the head towards the ceiling, up into our cobra. And now we're going to take that shape back, chin to the chest. I'm going to push down through the arms, round off the spine, push the hips all the way back and down till the bottom sits on the heels and the forehead comes down onto the mat. Okay? So we're going to work through that with a little bit more fluidity now. Add the breathing. Exhale forwards into that cat stretch. Sink the hips down, lift the head and the chest, shoulders back and down, breathe in. Breathe out, chin to chest, push through, rounding off the back, exhale. Sinking the hips and inhaling, expanding through the ribs. Exhale through again. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through pursed lips. Lift those abdominals in, nice and active through those abs as you push through that cat stretch into your child. Exhale, drop the hips, lift the chest, lift the head. Expand the chest. Exhale, lift through those abdominals and sit back. And final one, exhale through. Inhale, sink the hips. Exhale, push through and sit your bum back down to your heels and release. Okay, great exercise there to just warm up and prep the body. We're going to carry on with this little bit of a sequence of flexing, extending, working through the front and the back of the body. We're just going to add some progressions in now as we go through. You can always stick with the previous exercise if you're not confident or comfortable moving on to the next one. So the next one we go from that same position, the child pose here, and then we're going to rock forwards, spreading out those fingers. I'm going to tuck the balls of my feet under, push down through my hands, push down through my toes, my hips up and back, my head drops through my arms, and my heels push down towards the floor. This is called a downward facing dog stretch. I'm going to rock back forwards into a plank position, shoulders over hands, knees to the floor, back into child stretch. Again, we're going to add and layer the breathing in here now. So inhale, exhale through, inhale, exhale, sit the bum back down to the heels. And again, through, lift, and push back. Sink those heels, long exhalation, sink the chest to the floor as well, trying to straighten the knees. Now if you are someone, so you can keep going there, if you do struggle with the wrists when you come up into your high plank position, you might find that we do take the shoulders over the hands. However, you can see the wrist angle here, okay, comes more acute as we lean the shoulders over the hands. So if you are someone who struggles with the wrists, then all I recommend is just taking a slightly longer plank position from here with the hands in front of the shoulders, okay? And then when you do your downward dog, You just have to walk your hands backwards a little bit. And then as you come to your plank, you walk them forwards. Okay, so it's a little modification for you. We're going to work through 3 more. Inhale to the top. Exhale, up with the hips, down with the heels, sink. Inhale forward. Exhale back to that child stretch. Let's keep it going. We're getting a really nice flow here. Such a great way to warm up and prep the body. And again, last one to go. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale and exhale, sinking back. Great stuff, good. And release, another progression to go. From here, we're going to go again to that downward dog. But this time, rather than this child stretch, it's a similar position, except I'm going to have my knees hovering off the floor. So tuck the toes under, come back through that shape that we've just created there, that really nice triangle, downward dog through, and then rock forwards. And now as we sit back, the knees are going to hover off the floor here, and then push through forwards and up and back. So it's great for strengthening the quads. Now if you do struggle with knee issues, then I would recommend to just sit back and just drop the knees back down onto the floor if you get pain in your knees. Otherwise, let's try to keep working through. Same breathing pattern, exhale, inhale, high plank, exhale, sitting back into that loaded beast. Good, inhale forward, exhale back, heels down. Trying to straighten the knees into that downward dog. Trying to push those heels down, hips up. 2 to go. And final one. Great, good stuff. All right, we're going to move through a little bit more stretch through the hamstrings. So this is a modified exercise from the Pilates reformer, really, called Elephant. Okay, it's just a way that you can do it on the mat. Tuck the balls of the feet under. Bring the fingertips either side of the knees. And then from here, we're going to push down through the fingertips. We're going to push up through the hips. And really important to lift up and in and drawing in those abdominals. So we're going to exhale up, through. So from here, I'm trying to straighten the knees. Don't worry if your knees don't go straight completely. I'm going to lift my abs up off of my thighs. And then I'm going to round the crown of the head, pushing through my fingertips and pushing down through my toes and through my heels. And then inhale, drop through to the top, reset. Feel a really nice stretch as you push your tailbone upward and round off. And final one. Good, and back down. Okay, so sort of building on the mobility, we're going to start to add some bit more body weight strength work in as well now. So we're going to go back to our high plank position. Actually, we're going to come up into a lunge and standing, so starting to challenge and open out the front of the hips as well as the back of the hips. So from here, I'm going to come through a high plank position, hold, I'm going to take a lunge with my foot between my hands. And then from here, I'm going to reach my fingertips up, lift my chest off of my thigh, push through the front leg and balance. So I'm now standing with straight legs. That back foot, if you look, the heel's lifted off the floor with that back foot facing forwards. I'm then going to come down, sink, back to my palms, step back through. Don't worry if you struggle with the mobility on that. Just do what you need to So if it means taking a half step and adjusting your foot, lifting your back knee and reaching up, that's also fine. Just work with your own comfortable level here. Step back, high plank, step through, reach, straighten that front leg up, back down, palms to the floor, step and in, reach, up, back, sink. Good, keep it going, guys. Great exercise to open and lengthen out the hip flexors on the back leg. Got two. Inhale back. Inhale up. Inhale back. And release. Good. Starting to move through into a bit of core work now. We're going to come to a V sit and we're going to bring this into a V crunch. I'm going to give you two options. This is quite a technical one. So I'm lying supine, legs straight, arms overhead. I'm going to curl up to a V sit position. My arms and my femurs are both running pretty much parallel, around about 45 degrees. I'm going to try and pick my feet up a little bit more there, so the shins roughly horizontal with the floor. That's the first part. Then you can reach your hands behind you, about a foot between your bottom and your hands, and then you're going to lean back, scoop your tailbone under. So when we reach back, it's important not to arch, but to slightly create a C curve as you lean back. And then up to the top. Keep those feet high. And then all the way back down to the floor. Okay, so we're going to do that again. Up. Reach the arms around. Lean. Keep the feet high, the knees high. It's almost like your chest and your knees are squeezing together. Arms come around. Back down. The progression up from here is to lean back without using your arms behind you, just keeping those arms reaching up to that 45-degree angle, and then all the way back down again. All right, 4 more to go. Let's go up. Breathe in, reach, back, and down. Up. Remember, your modification, if you need it, is to use your arms for a little bit of support. 2 to go. Lift your chest up nice and tall. Imagine being pulled up in the front of your shirt. Final one. And all the way down. Good stuff. Tough drill that. Then we're going to go into a similar exercise, another forward flexion abdominal exercise, challenging the hamstrings as well at the same time here. So it's a similar motion. I'm just going to lift one leg, and that leg I lift is going to be straight. So I'm going to come up, point the toes, curl up, hold your ankle, pull your chest high and pull your leg closer towards you, and then back. Alternate to the other side. Exhale, pull, and back. Inhale. Exhale, pull, inhale, reach. Great exercise, because not only are we challenging the core strength, but we're also challenging the mobility, or hamstrings range. Yeah. Exhale up, pull, lift that chest up nice and tall, squeezing those shoulder blades together, or just slightly retracting or pulling those shoulder blades back. 2 to go. Great stuff. If you can't get your legs straight, doesn't matter guys, you're bending and you're just trying to work towards straight. Doesn't matter if you can't get it completely straight there, yeah? It's all about the practice, as I say. Good, so we're gonna come to a little bit more opening out through the hips again. We're gonna do a lateral lunge, and then we're gonna add a bit of reaching in, so we're opening up through the spine, opening up the pecs, and through the back as well. So this is a really nice dynamic movement to stretch your whole body. So I'm gonna come from kneeling, and I'm gonna lunge forwards and plant my foot around about 45 degrees outside the mat. As long as your foot goes outside the mat, you've got good width, okay? So I'm gonna step outside the mat and sink into it, okay? And then back, balancing, pull the foot back to kneeling. Lunge, push that knee through. Try to keep your heel pushing down towards the floor. So we're working ankle mobility as well as hip mobility here. And back. Don't worry if the heel does lift, it's all about just trying to get it to push towards the floor as the knee drives over the toes. All right, do 2 more, and then we come into a little bit of a progression. Starts to get a bit more challenging, and through. So now, I lunge across, push, I take my hand, same hand as the foot that's forward, and I plant my palm just on the inside of the foot. I then open my torso, so I open the shoulder up, so my body opens up, and I'm going to reach over the top, okay? And then back. Scoop that leg through, balancing and sinking down. Let's do the other side. We'll do the next one slowly again. Lunge. Palm comes just inside the foot. Open up the chest and the shoulder and reach through. Back, balance, and down. Okay? And now we're going to try and put that through with a little bit of flow. So we lunge, plant, open the shoulder, reach, come back through, lunge, palm to the floor, open the shoulder, open that torso up and reach. We'll do 1 more of these each side. This feels so good for opening out the body. You can even do this as a warm-up for another session, or as a separate, mobility component if you wanted to. A great way to prep your hips for things like squatting and deadlifting. Good stuff. Okay, so moving on from here, we've got again another slight progression from that exercise. Okay, so this time we're going to do a roll over into a lunge. Okay, again I'll take you through the technique and then we'll start to create the flow. All right, so from here I'm sort of coming into a shape here where I walk my thighs towards my chest. I'm then going to tuck my right foot just underneath me like so. Okay, so left knee bent, foot planted, right foot tucked underneath me. Okay, I'm going to keep this shape and I'm going to rock it back. Don't worry if you get a bit confused with this one. Again, it's all about just practicing. You're going to rock back with your hips. Your hips are going to try and roll over your shoulders a little bit. Here, we're going to come through and lunge. All right, so this position that I finish in is the position that my legs were in where I started. Yeah, this shin is coming across the mat. All right, this knee lunging forward, bending the knee over the toes, sinking the heel towards the floor. Take the hips, turn them slightly forwards. A little bit of contraction through the glutes to stabilize the pelvis, and you'll get a little bit of hip flexor stretch there. And then we're going to work this. I'm going to sit my hips back behind my leg and roll back. Actually harder to do this slow than it is quickly, and through. And now we're going to start to flow through. Breathe in, back. Breathe out, lunge through. Breathe in, back. Breathe out, lunge through. Planting that foot, rolling through, lift the chest, lengthen through the crown of the head, forwards. Rock back. Going to do 2 more. A lot of ab work, curling you forward, creating that momentum. And there you go, okay? And we obviously repeat that then on the other side, okay? So to save confusion, you can sit your right knee bent, foot flat, left knee bent, foot tucked underneath your right hamstrings, okay? Then we're going to roll over. We're going to come up and push that knee over the toes. If you find that you're losing balance, your heel's coming way off the floor, you're probably a bit short. Push through, turn the hips, and then sit back into it. Roll, up, and lunge. Exhale, inhale back. Roll through the spine, so you're rounding your spine. You're really trying to roll through each vertebrae. One more to go. Feels quite nice to do that one. It's quite fun to play around with. All right, good stuff. We're going to come to open out through the front of the body even deeper now. So we're going to come up to kneeling. I want to kneel about hip to shoulder width apart. You don't want to be too narrow with this. Give yourself a bit of width, a bit of stability, okay? If you do struggle with lower back issues, you need to be very careful with this one in regards to how far you lean back into your lower back, okay? So we're going to bring the arms out in front. I'm going to reach the right arm around, lean back through the knees until my hand comes to my heel, and then reach the left arm over the top. Imagine your armpit is reaching up to the ceiling, your chest reaching up to the ceiling. Bring your hand back and through. If you struggle, be careful with your lower back. If you do struggle with back issues or back pain, we make sure that we set the pelvis by rotating into a slight posterior or a lengthening under of the tailbone, and then just work through the quads, lean back and forwards, and just try to get that strength through the hip flexors and the quads in that position. Okay, other side. Lean, reach, and back through. This is a really nice anterior chain stretch. Opening up and back. Getting that lean through the quads. So we're not arching straight back into it and pushing the hips forwards. We set the pelvis, we lean back, we load the quads, and then we stretch over. We'll do one more each side, breathing in to expand, almost inflating ourselves, to provide support for those spinal structures and to open up through the chest as well. Good, okay, and then this gets even deeper, so we're going to move through into our camel pose. So it's essentially the same thing, we just need to reach then both arms around. Again, if you do have issues with your back, just come into a position where you're into pretty much a neutral position with your pelvis, so possibly a little bit of a posterior slight tilt back, and then just lift your chest up. Drop your shoulders, reaching your hands towards your heels. So that's your modification. Otherwise, we're going to come back with the right hand, as we did before, and it holds on to the heel. We reach the left arm around and holds on to the left heel, and then push your chest up to the ceiling. Good squeeze through the glutes there, and then the head comes back. Opening up that chest. Breathing to expand. Reaching one arm back and up and release. Great stuff. So we're nearly there. We've got a couple to go. We're just going to work some strength now through the upper, mid, lower back, as well as through the back of the hips. So posterior chain strength. From here, I'm going to bend my knees. My knees are wide, about shoulder width. Okay, my heels together and my toes apart. So I create this sort of frog position. Squeeze the heels together. Quite important here, I'm going to try and lift the knees, but as I do it, I don't want to be lifting the legs by tipping my pelvis forwards. Okay? It's important that that tailbone tucks under, so it feels like the abs would lift up off the floor and the pelvis would tip back a bit. If we can set the pelvis into this position, then we can push up through the legs without overworking the lower back. A little bit of movement through the pelvis is okay. We just want to make sure we're not just doing all of the work into the lower back. And then the other end, we lift the crown of the head. We're creating length. And then I'm going to draw my hands out to the side and squeeze through my shoulder blades. Well, really, it's more like a gliding back together of the shoulder blades. So as you can see, this is quite a technical exercise. So we'll put those together, setting the pelvis, lifting the legs, lifting the torso, lifting the arms, drawing the shoulder blades back together into our skydiver, and then controlling back down again. Important to move through slowly into extension. Really squeeze those feet together. Get those adductors and gluteals working. Pushing, trying to lift the knees up. It's almost like you feel your pubic bone pushing down into the mat a little bit. Don't crane the neck, lengthen. Imagine the spine is lengthening. And we're going to start to work through a little bit more lift. 3 to go. Really important, this work. Strengthen up your back, especially after doing lots of flexion, lots of abdominal work. We've got to do that posterior chain stuff too. Then the legs are straight, okay, with the toes pointed, making sure you're not bending your knees with this one. And the arms are straight, reaching through your fingertips. So we're trying to create as much length as possible, reaching forward with the fingertips and reaching back with the toes to create this Superman position. Again, if you do experience back pain, then you want to be very careful with this exercise, maybe just thinking about lifting one arm and leg rather than both. Good, really trying to create length to lift. Common mistake is bending the knees, but actually we want a little bit of work through the quads to keep the knees straight. Four more. Inhaling as you lift, yeah? It's like an expansion. Creates power, your inhalation, to protect the back, yeah? Helps us to expand. Diaphragm drops, creates more intra-abdominal pressure, protects the spinal structure, so it's important to get that breathing right. Good, and finally, this one again starts to move through as a little bit more intermediate. So again, do need to be careful with your back, but we're nicely prepped for it, so you should be fine. But yeah, as I said, not recommended for those who are do experience like a little bit of back pain, then again you just want to set a little bit of a modification of just a lift and a lower. Okay, otherwise hands under the chest, roll your shoulders back and down, push your head up where we started. Okay, and then from here we're going to rock through the body, so we're going to keep this bend. It's really important to stay nice and active through the glutes here, pointing the toes, reaching the leg, and I'm going to rock onto my front. Length, not lift. And sit your bum all the way back and down, round off, sink into it, take some nice deep breaths, expand the lower back. Excellent. So you can see these exercises, they're great for creating space in the joints. What we're really trying to do is create length. The more length we can create, the more space in the joint, the more space in the joint, the more movement around the joint, and the deeper we can get into our exercises and our movements, and the more freedom we have generally through the body. So thanks so much for joining today, guys. I'll catch up with you next time. Cheers.